As players are attempting to fine-tune their builds, they are farming and grinding for those last 1 to 2% attribute rolls to squeeze as much damage out of their builds as possible. However, for every small percentage point they gain through better rolls and loot drops, they could be instantly adding anywhere from 12 to 35% more damage to their output by investing into these group synergy talents. Today, I will show you how these 7 talents and gear pieces work through demonstration and explain how to use them for even more damage output. What's going on, agents? It's LtBuzzLitebeer back with another Division 2 video, and today I am focusing on how to squeeze huge damage gains out of your build through the use of group synergy talents. But before I begin the video, if you haven't yet done so, please smash that sub button for dedicated Division content, and don't forget to click on the bell icon to receive all notifications from my YouTube channel. And with that out of the way, let's begin. To understand how this build concept works, you first need to know what synergy means. And quite simply, it means the cooperation of 2 or more agents to produce a combined effect greater than the sum of their separate effects. So when we speak about group synergy or synergizing, we are looking for ways to take our already strong damage builds and make them even stronger, not by endless hours of farming, but by building around a squad-based concept, using talents that complement the differing members of that squad. You may need to make small adjustments to your damage build, but the real work will need to be within the squad, as members will need to invest into the group concept, with the understanding that through this, the entire squad will do more damage output and better ensure completions on heroic and legendary difficulty missions. Since it has been well established that investing in a critical hit chance and critical hit damage is the most efficient means to boost damage, squads are always on the hunt for large gains in this category. Vindictive is the only weapon talent that offers players both the ability to not only boost their crit, but also add crit hit chance and crit hit damage to their teammates as well. By killing an enemy with a status effect applied, Vindictive grants you and all allies within 15 meters of you 15% critical hit chance and 15% critical hit damage for 20 seconds. Now, this weapon talent gives you flexibility in the method you use to proc it, as it does not state that the player using Vindictive must also be the player that applies the status effect. As long as the player using Vindictive lands the killing blow, the entire squad will receive the crit bonuses, providing that they are within 15 meters of that player when the proc was activated. Now, in terms of how strong this bonus can be, look at how crit is accumulated on your gear and weaponry. Critical hit chance can be found at a maximum value of 6% through gear mods or attribute rolls, while critical hit damage is found in 12% maximums on both. So at 15% for both crit hit chance and crit hit damage, this is a tremendous gain, and it can be reactivated over and over in a chaining effect as long as the player using Vindictive is able to achieve the killing blow on a target currently under a status effect. Inherently, your DPS squad members are going to take damage, and since they are fully invested into damage output, their armor and healing skills will be minimal. This is where a squad member using a healer build can not only keep the DPS player alive, but also boost their damage output through the use of Empathic Resolve on the body armor. Now, as part of the changes for Title Update 9, this body armor talent had its uptime increased from 10 to 20 seconds, and during that time, the healed player receives 3 to 15% increases to their total weapon damage and skill damage. The effectiveness of the damage and skill buff is determined by the healing player's skill tier. So if the healer is using a build with skill tier 6, the player receiving the heals, our DPS squad member, will receive the full benefits of those heals along with a maximum damage boost of 15% for 20 seconds. Empathic Resolve, if applied to oneself, will also boost damage outputs ranging anywhere from 1 to 7%. Now, for a squad attempting the hardest content, a healer using Empathic Resolve is a tremendous asset, as they not only keep everyone healed and in combat, but also boost their damage output by a maximum of 15%, which, if you think about it, is the equivalent of adding the Composure Backpack talent to those players every time you heal them. Overwatch has long been known to players using crowd control and healer builds as a means of boosting their damage output by simply taking cover. However, this body armor talent also has squad benefits, as once the player using Overwatch has attached a cover and remains in cover for 10 seconds, all players in the squad receive the additional 12% weapon and skill damage buffs. Now, as long as the player using this talent stays in cover or performs a cover-to-cover move, the damage buff is not lost. A double-digit damage gain for simply staying in cover, which is something you will do quite a bit of anyways, makes Overwatch a talent that every squad should have. The talent text does not state anything about range to the player using Overwatch or for how long the damage buff is active, so you are safe to move freely around the area, and as long as they remain in cover, you receive the buff. For players endlessly farming for mods and gear to add 1 to 2 percentage points to their builds, just look at the damage gains from the demonstration. 12% weapon damage added to an already well-crafted build really heightens your overall DPS output, and nets a huge difference once the critical strikes start landing, even against elite and named NPCs. When it comes to damage, there are differing types in the Division 2, and there's a lot of math going on in the background when you are crafting your build. Some damage types are additive, while others are multiplicative, and DPS players have learned to seek out ever-increasing pools of multiplicative damage as it increases your output more than an additive damage type. Intimidate is a body armor talent that states that while you have bonus armor, it amplifies total weapon damage by 35% to enemies within 10 meters, and in the overall grand scheme of damage output in the Division 2, amplified damage is a multiplicative damage type. Now, as long as a member of your group is using a talent that applies bonus armor to the squad, the player using Intimidate will gain the 35% amplified weapon damage against targets within 10 meters, which is a standard distance that many gunfights occur in this game. There are many different ways to apply bonus armor to your squad members, and for our demonstration, I was using a ballistic shield, along with the perfect Vanguard body armor talent, and we also experimented with the exotic Tardigrade body armor. Now, as you can see from the test range damage figures, the 35% amplified weapon damage gains net a huge difference in output as long as the Intimidate talent is active. Note that the Intimidate talent text doesn't state how much bonus armor must be applied, just that it has, so duration is the key to this talent reaching maximum effectiveness. Moving from the body armor to the backpack, but staying on this theme of amp damage, Opportunistic offers squads a unique opportunity to gain even more amp damage for striking targets with specific weaponry. The talent text reads, "Enemies you hit with shotguns and marksman rifles amplifies the damage they take by 10% from all sources for 5 seconds. For the squad who can coordinate which targets to focus fire, a player using either a shotgun or marksman rifle can continually mark targets and therefore apply the amp damage buff for the time indicated." Notice that the talent does not state anything about distance to target or proximity to allies, so as long as the player using this backpack talent lands the strike, the amp damage is applied. In addition, the text states all sources, so once Opportunistic is applied, this could also apply to status effects and skill damage as well as standard bullet damage from your squad mates. As you see from the demonstration, I am applying the Opportunistic mark via my shotgun to the target, while my squad mate takes advantage of the 10% amp damage. Now, as long as I keep applying the mark with the specified weaponry, the amp damage is continually reapplied, as there is no stated cooldown timer. Many missions in the Division 2 create a forced area of proximity to both our targets and our squad members. Rooms and chambers can be tight and put a premium on close quarters combat, and this is where the companion backpack talent really shines. If equipped, while you are within 5 meters of an ally or skill, total weapon damage is increased by 15%. And while at first glance, the requirements may seem pretty rigid, there is actually quite a bit of flexibility to getting this damage buff to proc. The natural reaction to this text requirement is to physically stay within 5 meters of any member of your squad, and this can be achieved by simply taking cover next to them or standing in close proximity. However, you can also achieve the weapon damage buff by staying within 5 meters of a skill, and this is where you can get creative. As you notice, it does not state that the skill needs to be yours. Through our testing, the weapon damage buff does apply by standing next to another player's skills, and you can see the damage spikes with it activated. Now, in theory, a squad could continually toss their skills out in front of them, perform a cover-to-cover move to catch up to their skills, and then perform the move again. the buff would be lost in the movement, but as soon as the DPS player reaches a proximity of 5 meters to the skill, they immediately gain the 15% weapon damage back again. For a squad that likes to stay tightly packed together or deploys their skills in close proximity to their location, using Companion can really add a nice damage gain simply for staying close to your squad. Introduced with the Warlords of New York expansion, the exotic Coyotes mask is a gear piece that buffs the entire squad's critical hit chance and critical hit damage based on the distance of the last enemy hit. Pack Instincts. The gear talent for this exotic mask nets you and your squad 25% critical hit damage for hitting a target from 0 to 15 meters, 10% critical hit damage and 10% critical hit chance for targets at 15 to 25 meters, and 25% critical hit chance for hitting targets at 25 meters and outwards. Crit is the current meta, and since most players are not at the critical hit chance hard cap of 60%, a player using the Coyotes mask for squad benefits is truly welcomed. Buffing the squad's critical hit chance means that they will not only have a better chance of landing a critical strike, but when they do, the buff to critical hit damage means an even greater damage strike landed. These crit bonuses can not only benefit the DPS player, who is looking to push out even more damage, but the CC and healer build alike. Now, what makes the Coyotes mask reach insane levels of utility is the fact that the 3 damage bonuses can be applied and stacked simultaneously, effectively granting players an additional 35% critical hit chance and 35% critical hit damage all at once. Now, even with just me wearing the mask, you can see how it boosts my squad mates' damage numbers through the critical hit chance gains and damage bonuses alike. This is going to wrap up my 7 squad synergy talents every player should know about breakdown. If you haven't yet taken the time to smash the sub button, please do so, and don't forget to click on the bell icon to receive all notifications from my YouTube channel. If you liked the video, rate it with a thumbs up, if not with a thumbs down. If you feel like supporting me and my full-time YouTube content creation, please check in the video description for links to my Patreon and Teespring merchandise store. Follow me on Twitter for all my latest thoughts on most things gaming related with a heavy emphasis on the Division franchise. And finally, I would like to thank my fellow Division UK clanmate, the Padrone, for his assistance with recording the footage for today's video. Until my next upload, this is LtBuzzLitebeer, signing off.